Are we now closer? Well, I would like to arguably say yes. And it's actually not even about the price, even though we've seen an almost 5% recovery in the past 24 hours, but it's actually about a hypothetical partnership that is allegedly supposed to be announced before the end of this month. In which case, if we go off of that, we're almost near the end of May, so we're now probably closer to hearing about that announced partnership. Now, I'll get into that in today's video, even though nothing I say is financial advice. I'm not telling anyone to do anything. This is just purely my opinion and my perspective. Now, again, before the end of this month, there is actually supposed to be a large bank in Europe that is supposed to announce a partnership with Zebec, which is actually going to mark the first ever time the Stellar and Zebec partnership is going to be utilized. Now, that right there is allegedly supposed to happen before the end of this month. That's according to Simon, by the way, who is the CEO of Zebec, and he actually talked about this during a podcast with Zach Rector, right? So, I'm checking. We're almost at the end of May. We haven't heard about anything yet, but it's not the end of May yet, right? We're not in June. As of right now, we're still in May. So there's still some hope there maybe about that announcement happening before the end of this month. Now, granted, people like to say, well, what happens if it's delayed? What happens if they don't actually announce it and it happens later on? Oh, wow, does that mean Zebec is cooked? Well, I don't think about it that way, and I wouldn't even necessarily be disappointed either. But if I'm just going off of what Simon said, basically, I'm expecting a partnership announcement before the end of this month. Will it really happen 100%? Again, that announcement? I mean, I don't know. I can't control that because I'm just going off of what he said. I'm not a part of the team, so how could I know? But if I'm just going off of what he said, again, Simon, the CEO of Zebec, I would assume that yes, there could very well be an announcement before the end of this month. Now, again, just to kind of rewind a little bit, would I be upset if they actually don't announce it? No. And the reason why is because if, let's say, it happens maybe next month or the month after that, the reason why I wouldn't be like upset or annoyed like that is because sometimes there could be delays for whatever reason. I mean, there's a bunch of things that goes on behind the scenes. Maybe a certain party agrees with these certain terms and conditions. Maybe the other party doesn't. Again, there's kind of back and forth sometimes. But if anything, it seems very close because, or not, why would the CEO say that about a potential partnership in regard to a bank in Europe? So again, if it doesn't happen before the end of this month, I'm not worried, I'm not concerned because these things sometimes could have hiccups along the way. But the fact that Simon, the CEO of Zebec, even mentioned it not too long ago, it kind of showcases that maybe that partnership is in the final stages. That's the thing. Now, was near the end of May probably an optimistic timeline? Who knows? But there could very well be that partnership hypothetically soon. So that's what I'm a little bit curious about. Now, granted, though, people like to say, well, what bank is it going to be in Europe? Now, there's a lot of possibilities. I already went and did a breakdown about this, actually, in one of my previous videos. I narrowed it down to either Deutsche Bank or not Societe Generale. Now, Deutsche Bank is in Germany and Societe Generale is in France. So I narrowed it down to those two. But again, it could be a bunch of other banks, like, for instance, BBVA, which is in Spain, or Santander, which is also in Spain. Again, there's a bunch of possibilities, but I'm saying those are kind of the ideas that I floated around. But even besides all that, though, we could very well know soon, at least according to Simon, the CEO of Zebec. So I'll just have to wait and see. But again, we're so close to the end of May, which got a lot of people worried, like, oh, how come they haven't announced it yet? How come this large bank in Europe haven't mentioned this announcement at all? Well, again, who really knows what's going on behind the scenes? Only the Zebec team and probably the bank knows, right? I don't know as of right now, but I'm still curious as to what that could really be, because we have to think about this. If that partnership were to go into fruition and actually get announced, it would really start transforming Zebec in a pretty impressive way, because we do know that when it comes to Zebec and its partnership with Stellar, there is an aspect of payrolls there. So if there is a partnership that could maybe bolster the sort of payroll aspect when it comes to Zebec, that right there would be a very big thumbs up for me, because Zebec, without seeing any results so far in regard to the Stellar partnership or the Ripple partnership, even without seeing any sort of meaningful results from those partnerships yet, we already saw that last month, Zebec had around $60 million in monthly payroll volume. So that's the thing. So let's just imagine what that volume would look like if, let's say, this large bank in Europe and Zebec, they had a partnership, and let's say it's using, or should I say utilizing, the Stellar and Zebec partnership. That right there could really transform the volume when it comes to the payroll side of things when it comes to Zebec. So I think at the end of the day, it is a net positive. Not to mention, we have to consider as well, if the Ripple partnership really started to kick off, that right there, can you imagine the volume when it comes to Zebec at that point in terms of a monthly basis? If it's like over 100 million, over 200 million at that point, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me. That's the thing. Not to mention, Zebec, they could very well do something with Google. What do I mean by that? Did you know that Simon, the CEO of Zebec, recently visited the Google office and actually met with the team at Google? Wow. So again, we have to think about this. Zebec, it's just kind of starting to cook, in my opinion. It's not cooked, but it's cooking, maybe, hypothetically, in my perspective. So yes, as of right now, Zebec, an almost 5% recovery. The day before, people were complaining about around a 10% decrease. You know, this is all background noise to me anyways. My mindset is years, maybe. So whatever goes on, like, oh wow, down 5% today, or maybe down 7% tomorrow, or whatever the case may be, this is all background noise to me anyways. Like years down the line later, this all that's going on right now, it's just kind of something a little bit irrelevant actually from a day-to-day basis, because is anyone caring about what happened on a Tuesday in March when it comes to Bitcoin back in 2016? Not really. That's the thing. People don't really care about that right now, especially that it's been like over 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So when it comes to Zebec, what I'm seeing currently, I think it's all just going to be background noise to me eventually one day anyways. So I'm not going to care too much about these short-term price movements. I'm caring more so about the long term. And one thing I do know, though, is that if Zebec returned back to the market cap that it had last year of around 540 million, we're around 240 million less than that in terms of market cap. Sure, we're not even 2 times lower than that, but if it could just go back to that, it would be such a good kind of morale booster, I would say, and it would kind of change the sentiment overall when it comes to Zebec, especially now that we have well over 100,000 holders, not to mention especially now that we've seen the Algorand, Stellar, and Ripple partnership, and not to mention seeing ISO 20022 and having an aspect of that. Now Zebec's just in a better position than before fundamentally. So if Zebec, with the improved fundamentals, were to return back to around a 540 million market cap and kind of use that as a base to kind of start things off, maybe if the market were to pick up again, it wouldn't surprise me, just because Zebec really, in my opinion, improved a lot ever since then. But this is only time will tell type of scenario. How high could Zebec go? I mean, that's up for debate. I can't control that, but one thing I do know, though, is that Onyx, which is Zebec's closest competitor, last year reached around $1 billion in terms of market cap. Now we got to ask ourselves this question. Is Onyx actually improving fundamentally? I would arguably say yes, but I think Zebec has been making more strides than Onyx. So last year, without an altcoin season, Zebec's closest competitor, called Onyx, reached around $1 billion in terms of market cap. So right now, we're actually over 3 times lower than that. So again, if Zebec could just match what Onyx did last year, we're over 3 times lower than that. That may seem a little bit disappointing, maybe some people like to say, and I could get that argument, but here's the thing. Bitcoin is not 3 times lower than its all-time high. Yet, if Bitcoin were to go back to its all-time high, a lot of people would be celebrating. That's the thing. So if Bitcoin returning back to its all-time high is considered so impressive, it's considered a celebration, how come if, let's say, in a random make-believe hypothetical scenario, if Zebec were to go to around $1 billion in terms of market cap, in which it is over 3 times lower than that currently, how come that is considered boring, but then suddenly when it comes to Bitcoin, which is not even 2 times lower than its all-time high, if it goes back to that, why is that suddenly considered so impressive? Why is that considered a parade suddenly? Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. I feel like at the end of the day, a 400 to 300% movement or whatever the case may be, I'm just using a random example here, or maybe let's say a 500, 600% movement, whatever. Whatever the movement is, if it's like, let's say around 300%, around 400% or whatever, it doesn't even really matter where I see it from. right? It's like still pretty impressive to me. It's not like it's impressive for one thing and lame for the other. I don't think about it that way. It's like if, let's say, I tried a very amazing cheeseburger at a certain restaurant, and then I went to a different restaurant and tried cheeseburgers again, and it was really amazing. I'm not going to say, oh, they're both good, but this one's lame. Well, what? How does that make sense? If they're both good, then they're both good, right? So I view it no different here. But this is just my perspective as of right now. Now, of course, if they actually do announce the partnership with this alleged very massive bank in Europe, of course I'll make a video on it. But as of right now, I'm just a little bit curious because we're so close to the end of May. The plan is to actually announce it before the end of May. So yeah, we'll wait and see. But of course, I'll keep everyone updated when it comes to that. But I want to say thank you for watching today's video. I greatly appreciate it. And hopefully I will see y'all on the next video. It's Willie the Captain. And as always, I'm out. Peace. Bye.